Hey folks, you probably recognize this as the tortoise and the hare story. And let me tell you, this has everything to do with how you can realistically lose weight. I'll get to that in a second. Now, if you believe that there's any herb or supplement or celebrity diet or exercise plan, any kind of magic foods to eat or tricks that melt away the fat, then unfortunately folks, here's what I'm going to ask you to do right now. Please leave. Seriously though. All of that stuff cost me years of my life, years of good health. So if you expect any of that will work for you, then God bless you, but be on your way. In case we haven't met, let me introduce myself really quick. I'm Gregory Palumbo, and people mostly know me as a pianist, a composer, and as a Christian music artist. I'm not a weight loss guy, but let me explain to you how I ended up here. At the time, I was really overweight. I was working with Dr. Frank Lawless from the Dr. Phil Show. And I was composing the soundtracks to his wellness audio programs. So I'm seeing come across my desk all sorts of scientific studies about all sorts of health and wellness things, amazing things. And I focused particularly on the weight loss stuff because I knew I needed to lose weight. I was in really bad shape, folks. So I basically picked and chose what I saw come across my desk that had great science behind it and real-world results. That combination also had to be something that realistically would fit in my ridiculously busy schedule. So those were that was the requirement. I also called an old friend of mine who's a fitness guru. Didn't know that at the time. Turned out he was, and I got some information from him. I'm going to share all that with you. But I want to say first that I believe that it was the lack of exercise in my life that really was fundamental to why I gained so much weight. You know, I'm sitting behind a piano, behind a desk for over 12 hours a day. You know, I'm just not getting exercise. And that was me from a child. I started piano when I was 3.5 years old. So I've never been prone to physical activity. I don't enjoy it. It's not my thing. And not having that just made it really easy for me to pack on weight over the years because I'm sitting, I'm snacking, I'm a foodie, I'm Italian, I love to cook. So it just added up, folks. And my issue was I never realistically could take that kind of time from my schedule. You know, it's not just the time of the workout, you know, and depending on who you ask, it's 30 minutes, an hour, hour and a half. At this time, the government had just come out and said women need to exercise an hour and a half. So it's all across the board, and it didn't matter. Even 30 minutes, I didn't have that because it's not just the time spent exercising, it's also preparation time. Traveling if you're going to the gym, back and forth, showering when you're done, you know, it's a lot. I just could never make myself do that consistently, which is a huge part of why I packed on the 70 pounds. So I think you're getting the point. I'm not an active guy. I most likely never will be. I, however, am trimmer, more fit, and look more like an athlete than any of my friends who spend hours in the gym. So you've got to ask, how is that possible? And people regularly say to me things like, well, you obviously go to the gym. Well, I find that absolutely hysterical because it's something that is so contrary to what I'm actually doing that I get to have that kind of, it's a compliment, you know, because they think I'm going to the gym. It's just phenomenal. It's just it's true freedom, right? Being in great shape is something that you imagine as being freeing and being. It is. It's truly a freeing thing to lose that weight. But better than losing the weight is having done it in a way that didn't require extraordinary efforts of will and time, right? Then it's something you can maintain no matter what comes up. So when I tell people what I actually do, even friends of mine, I see it in their eyes. Most of the time, they don't believe me. You know, it's just very hard to believe. We're programmed to believe the opposite, that it takes a lot of time in the gym to get the body that you want. We're programmed. We've been trained that way for decades by the health and wellness, the weight loss industry. So it's hard to believe. But what's the secret that I have that's so hard to believe? Well, first of all, I don't like the word secret because usually when I hear that, it's a bunch of baloney. I've heard secrets so many darn times that it actually makes me a little sick. Now, this, however, was a secret, a real secret at one time. It's a secret that this celebrity fitness trainer was sharing only with his elite Hollywood clientele. And he had a ton of very, very busy and wealthy individuals, highly wealthy, a few billionaires that he was training. So this was a secret he was sharing with them. It just happens that I knew this guy way before he became famous. He was somebody I went to college with, actually, and the only time in my life I ever got into reasonable shape was because of him. And one summer, he literally dragged me away from my keyboard and would insist that I get on a bike, and we would ride down the Strand and down this, Southern California. There's a beautiful bike path along the beach. And so we would do that, a couple times a week. So I lost a few pounds. I felt better, but that was the end of it. Then I met my future wife, and I stopped spending even that time. It just wasn't something I was making time for. So I ended up contacting him. At the time I didn't know if he was still even in fitness. I hadn't spoken to him in a number of years, but I figured, the guy got me in kind of good shape before. Maybe he'll have an idea now, right? Well, it turns out he was a celebrity fitness trainer and on TV. I just don't watch TV, right? I mentioned to my wife, hey, I'm trying to reach Michael Carson. She's like, oh, it should be easy. He's on TV all the time. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? She says, yeah. I see him on infomercials. Anyhow, I remember this like yesterday. I had just started listening to the Think and Grow Thin audio programs. If you don't know what those are, that was what I was composing the soundtracks for with Dr. Lawless. Okay, they're audio programs that train your brain to have new, healthier habits. Okay, and so I'm listening to them, and it's interesting because I'm listening to them because I was working on the soundtracks, and at first I didn't know I was paying attention to Dr. Lawless's narration. But all of a sudden, I'm sitting there at a keyboard, I'm feeling like, instead of reaching for chips, I'm feeling like not doing that. And I'm like, God, really, is craving to get in good shape. Unlike generally where I was, got to the point where I'm like forcing myself. And so, I suddenly realized, wow, these programs I'm working on actually have a really amazing impact. It's not hypnosis, by the way, it's imagery. It's an amazing, amazing system of programs. And, you're not going to lose weight by just listening to an audio program. You got to do something else too, but it sets your mind up to want to lose weight, really want it, and it sets your mind up for a successful weight loss endeavor. Anyhow, amazing program. But again, I knew I would have to add a diet and exercise component to it, and it's because Dr. Lawless was saying it. He specifically says you cannot sit on a couch eating bonbons, listening to my audio program, and expect the weight to drop off. It just won't ever happen. So I know I need an exercise and a diet, but like I mentioned, I had tried absolutely everything there was to try, every gimmick, everything. I try them a lot of times in secret. I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell somebody I'm dieting again. It was like every Monday I'd go on a new diet, and it would last either a half a day or a couple days and then fall away. I just could never, ever stick with any diet or any exercise plan long term. It befuddled me. I couldn't understand it. I figured it was me. It had to be something wrong with me. Well, no. It wasn't anything wrong with you and me. We are not why we fail at these programs. Let me tell you what Dr. Lawless explained to me. He explained to me that when you make a big change in diet and exercise, it kicks in your body's automatic systems. Okay, so let me explain something for a moment. We have spent very little of human history in such close proximity to constant food sources. Okay, I'm always arm's length away from a Starbucks or a 7-Eleven. You aren't ever going to be unable to get food in today's society. Okay, however, your body was not built in these circumstances. We spent hundreds of thousands of years in a totally different way of living, where famine was a very regular occurrence. It would happen multiple times in a single person's lifespan. Some people wouldn't even get a lifespan because they would die as infants because of a famine. Okay, this is all history. It's well known. This is what our body adapted to. So when a famine would hit, our body adapted to that, found ways of protecting against famine. And so that's what happens. Your body protects against the famine by holding on to all the calories it can, all the fat it can. So here you are with all good intentions to lose fat, so you cut back on your food, and your body goes, uh-oh, there's a famine. I got to hang on to all the fat I can. That's just what happens, folks. With exercise, it's the same thing, but a little different. With exercise, when we were highly active for the majority of human history, was because we were either in hunter mode, running after something we wanted to eat, or in prey mode, where we're running from a predator, right? And those circumstances also cause the body to naturally protect itself, okay? Because it's in a fight or flight scenario. It's not in a let's get healthy scenario. It's in a I've got to survive this if it's a predator, or I've got to catch this because I got to eat and feed my family. This is not, hey, let's go on a leisurely jog, okay? So that's what your body goes, oh no, there's a predator. So it's like, he's exercising, there must be a predator, he must be running from something dangerous. And that's it. Your body stops that. So have you ever noticed that you'll injure yourself within a few days of starting an exercise program or get sick? It's not a coincidence, folks. It happened every time for me. So it's no wonder why we could never stick with anything out there. It's in our genetic programming that those programs that limit calories and set you up with massive amounts of exercise all at once, those are bound to fail. It's genetically programmed into us. They're all about changing how much you eat and what you eat all at once. Changing how much you exercise, going from no movement at all. I mean, for me it was, I'm at my desk or piano. I have to get up to the bathroom a few times. I have to go to the kitchen, to get my snacks. And I, got to go to bed eventually. So that was the extent of my exercise. And that's not exercise, folks. It really isn't. Look, going from that to even just, if I was to do 30 minutes a day, is almost infinitely more, right? Because you're going from none to 30 minutes. I mean, none, you divide anything by 0, right? So this is why we end up going, uh-oh, our body just goes, it stops us. Something happens invariably to stop us. So look, if I haven't made the point, a really regular guy. I mean, I hate exercise. I love to eat. How much does that sound like you? I mean, it probably sounds a lot like you, right? Regular guy. The only difference is I had this really great list of contacts. So, talk to you about my friend, celebrity fitness trainer Michael Carson. Now, I'll tell you a little more about him. He's the guy behind so many ultra successful fitness products and programs out in the market. He Paul Abdul workouts, Carmen Electra workouts, Body by Jake, and that's just a few. I mean, really, the guy is eclectic. He's been out there doing a ton of things, exercise equipment development, all sorts of things. So, and I'd known him. I hadn't spoken to him a number of years, but I was blunt with him. I'm like, Mike, look, if you're going to tell me that I have to do a bunch of exercise, 30 minutes, at that time, an hour and a half, the government's telling women to exercise an hour and a half. If you're going to tell me that, I'm never going to be able to stick with this. And I literally know, not think, I know I'm going to die if I continue down this path. Folks, I was having some serious issues, like to the extent where I wasn't telling my wife some of them, because I know she would have forced me to a doctor. Doctor would have run me tests, probably stuck me in a hospital for tests. God forbid I had to stay there. I had to work. If I wasn't working my 12 or 13 hours a day, especially at that time, the ship was going to sink. I could not chance being taken away from my desk. So I was keeping this a secret, and I was panicked about it. Folks, I got to tell you, that a buddy of mine, really close friend, we have daughters the same age. At that time, our daughters were both 4, maybe a little younger actually. Yeah, a lot younger. 2. My God, how time flies. 2 and 3, because I think his daughter is a hair older than mine. And so, than my youngest. So anyhow, he's having the same discussion with me after I'd already started losing some weight. In fact, it wasn't, I wasn't down all 70 pounds, but I started losing some weight. I wasn't comfortable enforcing these ideas on other people at that time. I was a pianist. I'm not going to be a sales guy. It's, in my mind, that was cheesy. But what a mistake. What a mistake. Do you get where I'm going here? Let me give you a hint. This gentleman was way overweight. A little more overweight than me. Not much more, but way overweight, right? Unfortunately, he was also an older father. He was 58, 59 at the time, actually 59. And he already had some health issues. That health issues I was right in the midst of developing myself, right? And he says to me, listen, Greg, I know I've got to lose weight. He was telling friends, folks, that he didn't think he'd make it to his 60th birthday. So he tells me, Greg, I know I got to lose weight. But he says, what am I going to do? I've got to work. I can't take away time from work. He just was in between a rock and a hard place. He had no idea what to do. It was horrible, because if you're getting the direction that this went, the man passed away. And the reason I'm speaking to you today is because of the immense guilt I have for not telling him what I was doing at the time. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like pushing my ideas on. I wished so fervently that I had done so. He died. So when this method actually worked for me and I got completely in athletic condition, I realized that I had to share this with as many people as possible. So, that's when I called Michael, I called Dr. Lawless, I put together some licensing agreements, their ideas. So I wanted to, obviously provide them with ownership in their own ideas. So anyhow, that's how that all came to be. Anyhow, so this story about not taking time out of their day for exercise is a common one, and we have all sorts of reasons. I got to take care of my kids. I got to take care of my business. Can't put aside the time, And so what happens? Some of us end up dying and leaving behind families, and that really does happen, folks, and it's completely avoidable. So this is why I'm with you. This is had to become my mission, even over my music, which is my life, because I can't stand the thought that there's someone other. He's a wonderful guy, folks. Wonderful. Like I rarely get that close to an individual. He's just a wonderful individual. There's others like him out there. Some of you obviously are just like him. And I can't live with myself knowing, oh, I've got this little secret that I do. No, I had to shout it from the rooftops. Well, it is funny, we always say this, how coincidental life can be, right? So Dr. Lawless is telling me you got to make tiny little adjustments in order to sneak by your natural human defenses to diet and exercise. And what does Michael tell me? He tells me something that blows me away. He says, Greg, the reason why you're seeing all these, exercise programs that take, so much time out of your day is that this is all designed to feed business. This is not a bad thing. This is people need to make money. And so, but it's designed to create products. It's not really designed to solve your problem, okay? So, it allows people to sell weight loss programs, gym memberships, fitness training. And again, that's just the way life works. It's the way business works. People have an expertise in something, they want to go sell it. They develop these systems. Look, I'm going to talk a lot of negativity about the current way that they tell us to lose weight. But in no way am I inferring that I believe that all of those people are liars. I believe they actually believe in what they're selling us. They really believe it's the right way. I'm not going to mention any names right now, but a number of them pop in my mind, and I believe that they truly believe. They're simply wrong, you know, and they're wrong, and there's no debate. Now, I'm always open to opinions, right? But if something is a fact, folks, like for instance, if someone was to say to you, look, the sky is green, but you know it's blue, right? Are you going to spend time debating them? You're not going to shut them down. You're not going to say, hey, you may not say that. No, go ahead and say that, but I won't spend my time, my valuable time, debating something I know for a fact is not the case. The sky is blue. You want to say it's green? By all means, you have every right to state your opinion. I will not debate you, though. Will not get engaged in that. It doesn't make sense to me. To you it does, to me it does not. I've seen the light. So, the bottom line is, Michael was telling me some things that absolutely blew me away. What he said to me was, look, and he has a bunch of busy clients. There's celebrities that are on location. When they're on location, you know, they may be in the gym when they're not on a film or a TV show, but when they're on location, a lot of times it's long hours. They don't have time for the gym. They got to maintain their business. Their livelihood depends on how they look. They got to maintain it. And then Michael also trained these very high-end business moguls, literally a few billionaires, right? And so and this is where I was wrong. I figured billionaires are sitting on a beach somewhere sipping a Mai Tai. No, it turns out the reason why they're billionaires is they work literally around the clock. They're flying one place to another. They're in London. They're in New York. That's how that all happens. So they're very, very busy. They're focused, and they often don't have time for the gym either. So that was his big challenge, is that how am I going to get these folks to get a result when they cannot be consistent with the things that are out there? So he tells me I teach them a trick. Now, you know, guys, I've been just so jaded that when I heard the word trick, and I remember him saying that, I'm like, for a moment, just a moment, I was like, oh no, not another gimmick. But it's Michael, right? I knew this guy, and I talked to him, I poured my heart out. He wasn't going to give me any line here. This was going to be real stuff. And sure enough, he says, look, it's not really a trick. It's actually based on 100% science. So he goes on to tell me about this technique he developed and discovered. It was over the course of a lot of research. You know, again, he had these busy clients. He wants to serve them right. He wants to keep them. You can't keep clients if what you're doing doesn't work for them, right? So he was already a kinesiology major. He dives in, right? He experiments. Now, I should tell you this. Michael is in this condition that is absolutely phenomenal. One of the top physical fitness conditions in the world. I guarantee that, because he was on shows that are absolutely ludicrous in terms of the need for physical ability, like that race across the Sahara. I never watched a lot of TV, so I never saw him doing this stuff, but he's been on that, or whatever that was called. You know, real extreme stuff. So he's a guy who can race across a boiling desert and live. So, you know, so that's incredible physical condition. So what he decides to do is to simplify. He says to himself, listen, my guys can't take the time I have. So how much time do I have to put in to keep my condition? Right? So he starts whittling away. Taking away, taking away, taking away. Instead of so much time, he starts seeing how much little time he can put in and still keep his condition. And that's how this little trick he taught me came about, right? It's the trick he's teaching his elite clientele of celebrities, right? And on that note, he says to me, now look, I was interested in weight loss, but this next thing is what really, really caught my attention. He says to me, have you ever noticed certain celebrities, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s, but they actually look 10, 20 years younger than their actual age? And you know that they haven't done the plastic surgery thing? He says, it's a good chance those guys are doing my technique. And I knew the kind of people he was talking about. And what he said next blew me away. He goes, look, it keeps you looking young, and it also gives you back the energy you had when you were young. Now, folks, I don't know about you, but I started playing piano at 3.5. So I never was an athletic or physically active person ever. And so that was very, the statement about having the energy of your youth, I remember I was more energetic when I was a youth, but I never had the energy I have now. I now know what it is to feel like that 18-year-old guy or 18-year-old girl. I'm a guy, but you know what I mean, the 18-year-old who's in great shape, and you look at them and you're like, wow, they look like they're in great shape, and that must feel, it feels amazing, guys. The energy is incredible. I'm going to take this moment to say something that, let's bash another myth. How many times have you heard, those of you that are over 40, oh, well, once you turn 40, you start to get the pear shape? No, 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 it has nothing to do with 40, folks. I've proven that. Nothing to do with 40 whatsoever. It has to do with how much activity you have in your life. Think about it. By 40, we've been in a workplace sitting on our tuchus for 20 years plus at that time. Right? This is what happens. So, now I'm literally salivating for this, and in my mind there's like this big banner. It says "Secret Weight Loss Technique of the Stars." There's a brass band playing. There's a big parade. I mean, because now I'm hearing this from Mike, and it makes sense to me, right? So, I'm like, lose weight, get fit, look younger, feel energetic again, and no huge time commitment. I mean, sign me up for that, right? I have to admit, though, I was a little skeptical, but not of what he was telling me. I knew he was not lying about this. There was 100% positivity in my mind about it being God's gospel truth. What I was afraid of was that nothing would work for me. I'd gotten to that point, folks. I hope none of you are there, but some of you are, I know, where you're like, yeah, I know I got to lose weight. I don't think it'll ever really happen, though. Like somewhere deep inside, you're like, well, yeah, maybe I'll lose a few pounds, but I'll never look athletic, right? That certainly was the way I felt, right? I could never, especially with what he was going to tell me, maybe lose a few pounds, maybe I won't die. I mean, athletic? No. So, a little skeptical that it would work for me. I felt like I was beyond hope at that point, all right? I'm like having weird stuff happening in my chest and all sorts of stuff, right? I'm like, it's just, if I could just stave off death till my kids are in college. It was really kind of my thought. So anyhow, I really love when the marketers put lines like this in front of me, and then I actually, probably because I was too tired, I actually put it in word for word. So he goes on, let me speak in salesman speak here. So he went on to tell me what his fat-burning, youth-restoring, energizing secret was, right? That stuff is such crud to me, right? But this is the real thing. All these catch terms that are out there describing products that don't work as advertised are ridiculous. So, I mean, look, I knew that it sounded impossible to work. This is Michael talking. He'd used it successfully with not just anyone, but major Hollywood stars whose living depends on them looking great, right? No, even though it sounded outlandish, once he explained to me the natural human mechanism that works to power his technique, it made complete sense, folks. Once he described that, all the pieces fell together. Look, I already knew what Lawless was saying about cutting back, doing little to get past your natural defenses. Small adjustments, not big. I got that. But then he explains to me why this small adjustment of his actually worked. And wow. So, I am a science guy. I love that the science is sound, but I have to tell you, I then go with my gut, and this just struck a chord with me. When you hear it, I really believe that you will also feel and understand why I knew this would work for me. Quick little side note. There is no guarantee that this will work for you. I have to say that, by the way. I am forced by legislation to tell you that. And I think it's a fair statement too. I can't know that you will actually do what I tell you. I can't know that what I tell you works for 100% of the population. Yes, it seems to be genetically based and that it will work for anyone who is human, but there are variables that I can't know about. So I cannot guarantee that this will work for you. I have to say that, or else I literally get shut down by the government. But I also have to say that because it's the truth. How do I know that you're going to take what I tell you and actually do it? That you'll, because look, I'm not chiding you. I'm going to tell you what I used to do. I'd read like about a new technique, weight loss technique or whatever it was. I'd go off telling people, I'd do it for like a day or even less, right? I'd go off and tell people, all excited about this. I'd be telling people weeks later about it, and I hadn't done it in weeks, right? But just because I had read it and it made sense, I was like pretending I was doing it and talking about it. Well, that doesn't do anything, and yet I didn't realize that what I was doing. I'd be like, well, I'll do it, you know, when I get some time next. So I'm still doing it. No, folks, if it's not daily, my piano expertise will tell me this. If you don't practice daily, you will never become great at anything in life. Okay, it's the things we do daily that carve us as humans. And so if you want to accomplish anything, succeed at anything in life, you better have daily consistency with something that leads you to that goal. Otherwise, forget about it. Seriously, guys. That's just the reality of it. So again, no guarantees, but if you're like me, who struggled with all the typical ways of losing weight, then this is certainly worth your effort, in my opinion. So Michael goes on to tell me that the key to fitness is momentum. And again, I got that from the piano. It was daily that made me great. I also got that from business. When he used the word momentum, I'm like, wow, I remember, and whether you like him or not, or you're indifferent, Donald Trump talks about momentum. He mentions that in his early days, he became very successful, and then it kind of went to his head in the 90s, his words. And he started gallivanting around the world, you know, attending the fashion shows, all of that stuff. You probably remember all of that. Well, what happened? He went bankrupt. He actually became $9 billion in debt, and he cites his lack of momentum as causing that. He talks about walking by a homeless man one day and realizing that the homeless man was worth $9 billion more than him. And momentum was what he cited as his reason for failure. He lost his momentum and everything went sideways on him. So this is a principle I get, folks. But then Michael said, do you know anything, have you ever heard of Chinese water torture? And if I offend anybody by repeating this, I'm sorry, and Michael would never mean offense either. It's just, it's a technique that I don't even know if was ever used in China, but it's what it was called when I was a kid. And Michael used it to describe the effect, which I think is great. So if you think of a drip of water dropping on the top of your head, you may not even feel it, right? Just one drop of water. But if your head stays in the same place and the drop lands in the same place over and over and over time it will literally drill a hole in whatever it's hitting. You know, my daughter brought home a rock from the beach the other week, and it had one of these holes in it. It was where water for whatever thousands of years had dripped through it, and it made a hole. So I got that, and the only thing was, I'm like, so what kind of exercise are you going to be telling me to do? I don't want to be tortured. I mean, look, I have my limits to what I'm going to be able to handle. And I also was afraid for my heart, folks. I'm like, if he's going to give me something that's really out there, man, I'm not going to be able to handle this. This is the exact reason why I need to change my whole living thing, is that I'm worried about my health. So, you know, and he tells me, you know, the principle behind the dripping water. And he tells me it's the exact same thing for exercise, right? And this was the statement. This is almost verbatim what he told me, folks. I'll never forget. He used the word carve. He says to me, a tiny bit of exercise done consistently will literally carve your body. Now, When he said that, I got the image of the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon, apparently, years and years, millions of years ago, was just a little stream running along on flat land. That little stream kept going though for years and years, millions of years, until, or hundreds of thousands. I'm not familiar with the. Don't quote me on the age. I'm not a geologist. Um, but over time, it created the Grand Canyon, this huge crevice in the earth that is a natural wonder. It's extraordinary. For those of you who have never been to the Grand Canyon, the pictures don't do it justice. That's weird in and of itself. Some of the pictures are extraordinary, but you're there and you see it's a wonder. So when he said it will carve your body, I instantly had the vision of how this water had carved the Grand Canyon and carved it into this structure that as humans we place on top of the things that are beautiful in our experience. So this just like really starts to intrigue me. He tells me it's even better than going to the gym, but I got to give you the caveat to this. If you're looking for huge, bulky muscles, then yeah, you're probably going to have to go to the gym for that. That's not a natural build. What this causes is a natural build, right? So, you know, just describing what I look like. I have an athletic, people have swimmer, sort of swimmer body, sort of bicyclist body, but really it's just an athletic condition that I'm very adaptable to anything I do. Not that I do it, but I could easily do it because my body's just trim. It's not overly bulky. Great muscle definition, real great strength, real great stamina. So I get what he's saying, but you got to also understand if you want the huge muscles, then yeah, get yourself to a gym. But he said to me, and this is important, folks, you've got to do it the way I show you. Otherwise, it will not work. Let me expand on that. I once showed this to a person. I showed them in front of them. I showed them what to do, the exercise. They went back a week later. They see me. They're like, "I've been doing it." And we were about to eat, so they did it in front of me. I'm like, what you just did has zero to do with what I showed you. Now, look, folks. Honest to God, there's a lot of things you can do that work right, but there's some things that do not, and so you have to realize that. Now, I want to do something for everybody. I'm going to tell you a little story here because I'm going to tell you what he told me what to do. I'm going to tell you free of charge. You're going to get exactly what he told me. And keep in mind, I called him on the phone. We live in different parts of the city, so I called him on the phone. This conversation all happened on the phone. He told me what to do over the phone. I took that information. I went off and started to do it. I didn't see him at all for like 2 or 3 months after that. Okay. So he never showed me them, in person. I never saw them. I didn't have a video to go by. He just described it, and I went and did it. So you can take what I tell you and make it work for you. I did. If this works at all for you, you can do it the method I'm giving you. Okay, it's not like you have to buy a product to make it work. So I want to give it to you free of charge because going back to when I realized that this first worked. I had a friend who passed away, as I mentioned, and this brought me to this point where I had to share this with the world because he was that overweight and he couldn't get a handle of it because of all the things going on in his life. And that caused me to realize this is something I've got to tell people and tell them for free. This is not something that anyone should have to sacrifice. They should be able to know this knowledge, right? And so that was my idea, but I also wanted to give them a really good product, something to hold their hand along the way. So Michael and I got together, we created a product, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. And I started to give away that for free because I figured, it's the internet. I can give it away for free and spread this message, and it'll be great, right? Well, there were 2 problems with that. One was it almost bankrupted me. The internet is a big place. You put something up for free, you think it's not going to cost you anything to give something for free away that's digital. No, there's bandwidth charges. There's bandwidth charges. Also, I had made licensing agreements to use a few of these ideas. So I have to pay for every unit. I just didn't think that, you put on the internet overnight, you could end up with such a huge bill, right? It's a big place. A lot of people could access anything you put up there. So this nearly ruined me. I mean, I had bandwidth charges, I had licensing charges, I had all sorts of charges on a product I'd given away for free, and there were tons out there. So I didn't, I was just, again, good heart, but not thinking that through. So I immediately had to stop that. I realized I had to put a price on it. But then my mentor also told me, listen, it's a bad idea to begin with. He says, how many things have you gotten for free that you've never used? And I bet you some of them are fantastic products. You're sitting in a closet or in your garage. Is that true? He says to me. I said, yeah, you know what? Absolutely true. He says, what things that you pay for, you tend to make use of. That's the thing. He says, so you've got to charge something for this so that people put value on it. It's just human nature. So I understood that, and I understood also that there was no way that I could sustain it, even though it was the internet, so it's not something that you can do for free. And I'm going to say I do believe it's completely worth your investment to purchase this program. I do. It's hand-holding. I would have liked that myself. I didn't have that. I went, obviously by just the phone call with Michael and went off with that. But I am a guy that, had a ton of questions. So I'd find myself calling Michael and calling Dr. Lawless and, what about this? What about that? What about this? And so, look, again, you can go off and do what I say and just make it work, but it behooves you to have hand-holding. So anyhow, it gives you, expert guidance. And, no one can guarantee your success. Only you can guarantee your success, right? But at least if you have the guidance, you have the tools. So another thing I did, by the way, was I assembled an all-star cast of health and wellness coaches, weight loss coaches, motivational coaches, and I created a technology that allows them to interact with you, so you get this virtual coaching. And, you literally get coaching from Dr. Lawless. I mean, this is a guy that if you were to go to his office, it's tens of thousands of dollars to meet with him because he's a worldwide demand. And so, anyhow, incredible people to provide you that assistance along the way. Guidance, information, and care. Guys, I don't know. I'm beginning to think that, because now we've had a number of people come through this program, and I think it's the care almost more than anything else. We really care. You'll notice that about us. This is something that is, profoundly impacted my life. This is not, anything that I take lightly. It became my mission because I lost a friend because I didn't have the guts to tell him, hey, do what I'm doing. I think it'll work for you. I have to go off and make that right. So, again, I want to make it easy for you to stay on track and succeed. I think that there are many people that can go off and do it alone, but look, I needed to call Lawless and Michael just for my own edification. Look, I could have done without it. Honestly, I could have just done what he said and just went down the path and not asked any questions. Probably would have been okay, maybe. But it's always better, guys, right? Anyhow, that's more of the same thing. Yeah, you know what? This is interesting. This is part of the previous frame that I just skipped over. But it's been proven. I've seen the studies over and over that if you have a coach, you will lose more weight and keep it off longer. It's part of the studies. It's a dramatic increase in success. And then, so you got those coaches, right, that keep you on track and help you lose more weight and keep it off longer, right? So that's something working in your favor already, right? But on top of that, couple that with a technique that literally will make it impossible for you to procrastinate. Now, I got to apologize for that, folks, because really, once you learn this, there is no way to say, well, I just don't have the time, or I can't, or no, anyone can. Anyone has this time, okay? So I apologize because I'm going to tell you something that once you know it, it's like Pandora's box. Once it's open, you may never close it again. You will always know that this is a possibility of you doing, and so you should do it, is what I'm saying. long-term weight wellness, weight loss success. You know, these are things that bring freedom, folks, but there's no freedom probably as great as the freedom of getting there without having to have sacrificed the way you conventionally need to get there. When I hear about people on these conventional diets and exercise programs that have literally killed themselves and sacrificed themselves to get into this tiny little shape, they take a couple little pictures and then 3 months later they're ballooning up again. You know, that's what I see. I never have seen what I'm going through and the people that have used this are going through. Again, I got to throw a caveat in here or they will come after me. This may not work for you. Again, I don't know you. I don't know that you'll do it right. So there, we've covered the legal. So first, let me tell you why it works, and then I'll explain what to do, because I think once you know why it works, you'll go, oh my goodness, I need to do this. So this works because, drum roll please, we just put a little bit of exercise before every meal. Now, what I love about this whole system is that it gets summed up in that little sentence. Do you know the most powerful and most potent and the most effective things in our universe are the simplest things? There are plenty of statements that go to this point. Keep it simple. KISS, everybody hears about that. Simplicity. There's something called Occam's razor, which means the simplest answer is usually the correct one. So, how's this? Just exercise a little before every meal. Again, I did tell you there's specific kinds of exercise and all that, but a little before every meal. How much is a little? Less than 2 minutes. Okay, around 2 minutes is maybe a better way of putting it. Between 1 minute and 2 minutes. Now, let me stop you before you start going into your no way, impossible, or whatever choice term you have for this. Okay? I'm going to remind you again, Michael Carson proved this worked in the real world. I've proved it works. Well, Michael proved it with people whose livelihood depends on them looking great. Okay? So I've proved it. Just my livelihood depends on me staying alive. Okay? That I look great is just, wow, thanks for that. That really is awesome, by the way, folks. But, you know, I was looking to just stay alive, and then I got this. It's like a gift that's unbelievably generous. So I do believe, though, even though you might have that little, oh, it's impossible, whatever, going on in your head, or what I had going on in my head, which was, yeah, it sounds like it'll work, but just nothing works for me anymore. Before you go down that path, I want you to really think about it, because I think something's clicking in your gut. I think it has to. I think, and if not, you might as well just close the presentation now, because it's never going to get better than that. You know, this is either clicked. You either hear it in my voice and in these there are incredible advances in how we think about our body. Okay, although some of the science is not new. It's kind of sad that we haven't heard about it before. So here's why this works, exercising before your meals. Well, and in this slide we use the word boosts. I do not like that word. I have another presentation on metabolism. So let me, and it's a lot different than what we've all been told. So let me just kind of reframe this. Exercising right before your meals optimizes your body's metabolic system. And not just your metabolic system, your digestive system, your neurological system, your circulatory system. It's an overall effect. You see, it only takes 45 seconds of sustained rigorous activity to cause any human being to enter an anaerobic state. Okay, any human being. Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever your favorite, you know, ultra fit person. Any of them, if they're rigorous for 45 seconds, they get anaerobic. What does anaerobic mean? It's simply being out of breath, needing more oxygen to fuel your activity than you can actually get in with your lungs. So you start to breathe faster, and your heart starts to beat faster to get the oxygenated blood circulating to the parts of your body that needs it, so that you can keep doing the activity. But that simple state of needing more air than you can take in does a remarkable thing for you, folks. It throws your metabolism into overdrive. But again, think of it more as optimizing your metabolism, all right? Optimize is the word, not fast. Optimize. See, since your body doesn't have enough oxygen for the activity you're doing, and yet you keep doing it, well, it needs to make up the difference somehow. You never see someone just falling to the ground unconscious after being out of breath for 45 seconds, right? I mean, I'm talking about healthy people. God, we know this happens occasionally, and usually after someone's run a marathon. But you know what I mean? You can run more than 45 seconds. Your body figures out a way to, even though you're not getting enough oxygen and your lungs just can't do that, it figures it away. How? Well, boosts metabolism. Or it optimizes your metabolism, raises your rate of respiration and your heart rate, and that makes it happen. So, again, it makes the oxygen go farther. Now, once your metabolism has been optimized, the effects last for 4 to 6 hours, folks. Do you get the import there? So, you optimize your metabolism. As long as you get to that state, which we've already established takes 45 seconds of rigorous activity. Before you get scared of rigorous, I was too, because I literally felt like I was going to have a coronary issue, okay? Cardiac issue. So I got worried when he said, especially Michael, who is in amazing condition, said rigorous. And I told him that, and he said, no, don't worry. He says, it's rigorous for your current condition. That's what's wonderful about this. He says it works for Olympians and it works for anyone. See, Olympians use a derivation of this to improve their performance and their endurance. They use a derivative of his technique, okay? So he's saying, look, that you're not an Olympian, you don't need to. You just need to get yourself out of breath, right? So, but incredibly, the effect of this lasts 4 to 6 hours. So I'm already doing the math in my mind. I'm like, well, I'm eating 3 times a day. And roughly every 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours. So this essentially keeps my body optimized all day long. So this is why my buddies who go to the gym, they're not in as good a shape, either the way they look or their actual health metrics. They're not. Why? Well, if they're in the gym at 5 in the morning, the effects have worn off by 10, 11. They spend the rest of their day in a state of inactivity, and it's just doesn't work as well, guys. It just does not work as well. So, doesn't matter if you exercise for a minute or an hour, the effect is the same. However, I want to put a little bit of a definition on that. And that is, look, like I said earlier, if you want big muscles, you got to be in the gym, right? Because this isn't about big muscles. But so I guess the effect isn't the same in that regard, but if you're talking about the effect of good health, well, yes. In fact, you're about to be shocked by something. Is it in this? It's not in this slide. Let me tell you something that's going to shock you, okay? You can exercise 4 hours straight. The benefit of exercise does not kick in until after you stop. Let me repeat that. Exercise however long you want. The benefit from that exercise will not begin until you've stopped the exercise. So this is why if you can trigger your body's systems to all be in play and then stop, the effect lasts on. Okay, so that is very important. And I've already covered this. So you're cranking up again, cranking up, I don't like that word. Again, you'll see my metabolism presentation eventually, and you'll understand why that, but you've optimized your metabolism. You've optimized your digestive system so that it can take the nutrients and deliver them effectively. You've optimized your circulatory system. You've optimized your neurological system. And then you eat. Well, this effect, I love this, and this is a great analogy. I forget who told me this, but it's the same thing as if you've been camping and you have a fire that's dying out, little embers, and then you throw some new firewood on. It's very hard to get that the new logs lit and roaring very quick. It takes a while to get them lit. You have to blow on it. You have to, all the things. But if you don't wait for the fire to die and you throw those same logs on a roaring fire, they get burned efficiently, effectively, and quickly. That's the same thing that happens when you throw food onto your optimized metabolism. It gets utilized effectively and efficiently. You see, your body now is in a different mode. It's in a mode of saying, hey, I've had some activity and now I need to have energy. So I'm going to take those carbs and use them for energy. The fat, I'm going to love that fat. Fat is a great source of energy, folks. This whole non-fat thing, be wary of that. You don't want too much fat. You want a healthy balance of fat, but you need fat in your diet. It's a great source of energy. So fats, carbs, the protein gets used for building muscles. Your body loves it. At that point, your body's going, great. I've got all this food coming in. I'm going to use it for this, that, and the other, and I'm going to make use of it. And I'm probably not going to store much as fat because I'm going to make use of it, right? If you eat too much, of course, your body will then store as fat. But first, it's making use of it, right? Very important distinction. And again, I go back to, since this is only 90 seconds, and you know, I say 2 minutes, a minute to 2 minutes. Don't get confused about the different time frames. 45 seconds is the minimal amount of time it takes to get anaerobic, right? But Michael always said, you know what, do a few seconds more so you make sure you're in that state. So that's why he kind of says, you know, shoot for 90 seconds. It could be at 2 minutes, it could be, you know, a little less, but there you go. 90 seconds, a nice little period of time. I like 90 seconds. That's the mile mark I used. It's great. It's mentally really easy too, because 90 seconds. 2 minutes already starts to feel like, oh man, 2 minutes, that's kind of a little time. 90 seconds, nah, I can fit in 90 seconds. Guys, 90 seconds, the time it takes to tie your shoe, the time it takes to brush your teeth, the time it takes to pour a glass of water. And here's the one I want to stop on. When they develop that magic pill we've all been waiting for weight loss, that one that we pop and the weight just doesn't come off, and the weight comes off and food doesn't get stored as fat, we're all waiting for that magic pill. Well, folks, I've timed it. You got to pour yourself a glass of water, you got to open up the bottle, you got to put the pill in your hand, you got to pop it in your mouth, drink the water. You could do it a little shy of 90 seconds, but it's about that amount of time. And so when that magic pill comes out, I'm going to skip the magic pill. I'm going to stick with my 90 seconds because I have a feeling the magic pill is not something you're going to want when it actually kicks into gear. Let me explain why, folks. Have you ever seen a human body that has no fat on it but no muscle? Yeah. Usually you see those pictures when we're looking at cases of eating disorders, folks. It's not pretty at all. So when they develop that pill, I'm scared for the results of that, really. Someone else can take that pill. I'll do my 90 seconds. I'll have the same end result of no fat on me, but the better result of having muscle and structure on me and vitality. Our beauty comes from our energy. Don't give me that pill ever, please, especially when it's going to take me as long to pour the water and drink it and the pill and the childproof cap. Forget about it. I'll do my 90 seconds. It's a tiny investment of time, folks. A tiny investment of time. I've already told you. It's like, you know, how do you make an excuse? Even if you aren't 100% sure about me, you don't know me, right? Even if you're not 100% sure, this isn't like, well, some extraordinary effort you got to take. It's 90 seconds. You'd give it a try anyhow, because if the crazy guy's right, you're going to end up with the body of your dreams. All right? That's what I'm saying here. It's a tiny investment of time, folks. And if it works like it worked for me and other people, if it works like that for you, I mean, folks, let me again repeat what I've already said. The freedom isn't just the freedom of not having the weight on me. It's the freedom of having gotten to this place without all that time and effort and sacrifice. And you know what that means? It means I know I can sustain this for life. I have every bit of confidence because, folks, it's been 4 years. I've been through illnesses, funerals, weddings. You know, everything that happens in life usually happens in a span of a couple of years. It's been 4 years for me. Illnesses, like I'd have the flu, right? If I can eat chicken soup, I can get up and do 90 seconds. Now, I'm telling you, there was a few times there where it was tough. It took I had to muster it up and say, no, I will not miss one, and I will feel better after doing this, which I did, by the way. But that flu one was that was a tough one. I did it anyhow. 90 seconds. Come on. I'm miserable anyhow. So I'm a little more miserable for an extra 90 seconds. Come on. And when it was over with, I felt better. So look, that happened also. I got to say that, you know, I have small kids. They come home with all sorts of illnesses from school, you know, colds, flus, and such. And a lot of times parents are really, don't want to get too close and all that because you don't want to catch it yourself. You've got, you got to take care of the kid. You can't be in bed yourself. They take all sorts of precautions. My wife does it. I don't take any precautions. I'm cuddling them, hugging them, holding them. I have great confidence that it's very difficult for me to catch any bugs out there. It just is. My body's always in an optimal state of being energized. It fights off these bugs the second. I feel them come on, by the way, guys. I could feel it like, oh, yeah, I feel a little like less energy is how it hits me, like a little less energy. And then, a day later, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back. I must have gotten that. But, poor kid's throwing up in a toilet for 4 days, and I had a little less energy for, a few hours. And this has happened consistently, folks. And again, the times I have gotten sick, the time I've spent sick has been greatly diminished. And one time I got sick, I had to take a business trip. And you know what? My old self would have been like, the business trip is done. No, you know what? I got on the plane. I made it to the place. I spent the majority of my time. It was 2 days of business trip. I spent the time in my room. I had to do a lot of resting, but I would go down to the meetings. Keep my distance. I didn't want to get anybody sick, but took care of business. In my old way, my old self, it never happened. I would have had to cash it in. There's just no way, when you're feeling ill and then going out and taking a plane and no, this is like it's unbelievable. I don't want to overbuild it up because, again, the government wants me to tell you that it won't work for you. You're not capable of anything working for you is what they want us to tell you now, which is really disturbing, folks. They've really made it to the point where it's difficult to give you a clear picture. And, in their defense, it's because so many scammers have been out there that they have to protect us against them. But, I think that I trust people. They can sort through the wheat and whatever the saying is. So, all right, cool. So, to help you do this the right way, we've created something called the My Mobile Minute Success Coaching Program, okay? And now, this presentation that I'm reading from today is an older one. So I know if we go past very far, you're going to see a pretty big price tag on this system. Again, I want to say right now, you can do what I just told you, right? Go off and do it. I did. So you're not obligated to buy anything. You have all the knowledge you need, right? Exercise, get yourself out of breath for around 2 minutes, then eat, okay? So you can do it. But if you need the hand-holding, if you want the actual physical exercises he recommends, what I love about them, by the way, is that, his term about carving your body, that's what he does. He's such an artist, with that. He knows what to give you so that you end up looking perfectly proportioned. And I sit at a desk. It's unfair, right? It's unfair. It really is. But, man, is it fair for me? Huh. I'm telling you, folks, I have never imagined that this would be my end result. I never did. I just, again, was hoping to stave off death, and instead, now I'm looking at, I haven't even seen myself visibly age in 4 years. Looking at pictures, I'm like, I think I look a little younger in some ways. Truly, folks. So I no longer have like an expiration date. Like people, like whenever they talk about it, when I see these oldest person alive, 115, I'm like, no, you know what? Doing this, I can easily surpass that. Easily. Like I have this crazy idea in my head, like, when is a serious catastrophic illness going to have a chance to take root in me? When? I've always got that 4 to 6 hours of benefit of exercise going on in my body. It's always there. Like, the majority of my day is spent in an optimized state that is naturally prone to kill off germs and bugs and diseases. So, and clearing your arteries, all of that. So when does any of these catastrophic illnesses, when can they possibly get a foothold in me? That's how I feel, guys. You hear it in my voice. I believe that. And I've proved that so far, the things that were dramatically wrong with me, that should have never, according to doctors, been able to disappear, they're gone. They're gone. I see the effect, okay? So that's why I get so enthusiastic about it. I believe a lot of people can feel the same effect. I truly believe that. As much as I'm forced to say this may not work for you. Or I probably should say this. Here, this is even better because believe me, the issue becomes that these big weight loss programs, they don't like ideas like this out there because it affects their bottom line. So they look for anything that I might be saying that is wrong. So let me put it even more dramatically. This will not work for most people, especially for people who do not do it. Okay? It will not work at all for people who do not do it. It may work for you, if you do do it. Okay? So I think that covers me, guys. And if it doesn't, I'll go fight that to the Supreme Court because I've got to get this message out to you folks. And I've been stopped enough by these guys surreptitiously and overtly over the last year. And I'm done being stopped. So I'll play it their way, and we'll do it their way. You've got to know that I truly believe this will help you. I truly believe it's a disservice that anybody stands in the way of you at least trying it, right? Why not try it? You already know enough to try it. You don't have to buy what I'm about to tell you about, which, by the way, I know there's an orange button below. In the original I'm not going to go through any more slides, although there's some good information. I covered a lot of it. It's about enough that we need to cover. Listen, the original program is very expensive for a very good reason. I've got a lot of coaches involved, a lot of stuff that needs to get paid. And like I told you before, it's an expensive proposition, especially when you add in everything. You've got to advertise and all this stuff. Again, I was a pianist, composer, right? So the business thing was something new. I had to learn really quick, though, because I got my tuchus handed to me right off the bat from just being a good guy and wanting to give away things for free. I wish there was such a thing. And again, you know what? I liked my mentor, and he proved it to me. He proved it more ways than just looking in my garage. He proved it to me. People that get something for free don't value it. They shelve it. They never get to it. So that's partly why the high price tag. The very high price tag, in my opinion. However, it's consistent with everything else that's out there and probably a little less. But I'm like, you know, why can't it be less? Well, I understand now business and things have to be expensive. However, I'm not doing that in this presentation. I'm doing something a little different. What I'm doing is, and I don't have the price yet because I'm waiting on my accountant for the final numbers because I cannot get ruined again. But what we're doing is we're calculating exactly how much it costs me in bandwidth, exactly how much it costs me in my licensing fees, and we're going to calculate that, and then I'm going to give a tiny buffer in there because, as my accountant said, there's going to be expenses you're not going to anticipate. So there's going to be a tiny buffer, and we're putting in a little 10% buffer in there. So that price below is literally my cost plus 10%. If you're upset that I'm going to make 10%, God, I feel bad for you on other levels. We got to walk you through another course, okay? People need to make money, right? But here's another point. If you think I'm making money on 10% or getting rich on 10%, that's not happening, okay? This deal for you is not about me making any money. It's about me finally doing what I tried to do a few years back, but you can't do it by doing free. So this is as free as it can be. And it's got the added value, according to my mentor, of causing you to then value it, to not just let it sit on your computer and I'll get to it tomorrow. No, today. Start today. Look, you're going to start doing my thing anyhow, right? From what I told you today. You might as well. If you're picking up a snack, do it before you snack, right? Whatever. Do it. You start doing it today. But why not start using the right exercises with all the right little tricks and techniques that I couldn't possibly tell you in a short little presentation? Why not? Especially, look, what I used to say to myself was, when we're having these debates about what to charge for this, because the mentor says to me, what's your value on this? I'm like, oh, that just ruins it. What's my value? If you had told me, now I was overweight and thinking I'm about to die. I have a kid in a crib 2 feet away from me, my wife next to me. I'm thinking one morning she's going to wake up and her husband's not breathing. So you want to ask me, if you were to guarantee that I would get into the shape that I am today, right? Which I am in this shape. So someone could have guaranteed it and said, I'm going to guarantee that. How much will you pay me? Well, if it's a guarantee. Now remember, I'm not guaranteed this will work for you. It worked for me, but I can't guarantee it'll work for you, right? But if there was such a thing, think about it yourself. How much would you pay? I would empty out whatever I have in my accounts at this moment. Literally, I would figure out how to put food on the table tomorrow. I would not worry about it today because I know the benefit that would come, right, from losing all the weight. And you know how much you've spent on fad diets and bogus exercise equipment. I got a treadmill sitting in my driveway right now that we're looking to find someone to take it away, right? So it's like that thing was $1,000, I believe, just looking to give it away now, right? So I mean, thousands of dollars. So a guy asked me this, how much would you have paid? I'm like, are you kidding me? Everything in my account right now. We're not charging people everything in their accounts, I'm telling them, right? I'm like, you remember, I'm a pianist, and they're like now drilling business into me. I'm like, come on, guys. You know, I had to come to terms, though. But so his point, though, was valid. And then I realized what his point was. I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah, it's a high value, man. You know, it's as much as I currently have, because tomorrow will be a much better day if I wake up thin. So I get that. A lot of value. But, you know, come on, there's reasonable. And so this is, you know, not the value that I've been counseled to put on this. So I want you to, if you purchase this at this price, to realize that you're getting something that literally, the base level product of this now starts at $147. Okay, guys? So, you know, just keep in mind that that's your value, right? So you're getting it really cheap right now, but please value it. Just take a few. I did it so that you could start really quick, okay, guys? So yeah, there's a lot of content. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing program, right? But within 10 minutes, you'll have everything you need to get started and then some, right? So just take the time, get started. I will see you personally inside. I'm one of the coaches. I deal with music therapy, which is a really powerful way of getting your mind and mood in the place you'd like it to be. So I'll be helping you with that. Dr. Lawless will be helping you with relaxation coaching, all sorts of mental health related things. One of Dr. Phil's, as he's put it, his go-to girl, a psychologist by the name of Dr. Kat. She's going to be your wellness coach. So you've got her. I mean, I'm always impressed when Phil's like, that's my go-to girl. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. You know, and Lawless is his go-to guy, so that's his little team there. And so, you know, I've got them. I've got a lot of great people, folks. Those are the superstars. They've been on the Dr. Phil show. They've been all over the place. You know, but I've got some great people there to help you along the way in this amazing system that I built that actually allows a handful of people to serve as many people as come online. So, super cool system. We will take care of you. My number one thing is for you to avoid happening to you, God forbid, what happened to my friend. I feel so guilty. I could have easily told him, look, I've been doing this. You know, he even came to me before he died, man, and I had a chance and I didn't take it. He had said to me, look, I found these two pictures of you. One was, I guess we had just taken a recent picture, the families, and I was, you know, already looking trim. I had probably only lost 40 pounds at that time. It's funny, that's all I thought I ever needed to lose. Turned out I needed to lose 70. But I had lost about 40. It was looking good, right? And he comes to me with that picture, and he shows me a picture he had found online from one of our father-daughter dances at the church. And he shows me that picture, which was from like a year back, and it was like a different person. I didn't even realize I looked that way because, you know what, I stayed away from mirrors. I definitely stayed away from photos. And so there were very few photos of me when I was at my heaviest. This particular photo wasn't even at my heaviest. I had made a huge effort to even fit into the suit that I was in in that picture, right? Because I was like, God, it's 3 weeks to this thing. So I don't even know what I did, but I know I had lost a little bit. So I thought I looked thin. I looked so chunky in that. Anyhow, look. He shows me these two pictures. He says, look at what you're doing. Whatever you do, you got to keep doing that. You're doing great, Greg. And that's when he told me the whole thing. Look, you know, I just can't go to gym. I can't do. I got to work. You know, and he had a lot of responsibilities, just like me, and I don't know what stopped me. I should have said, listen, just do this. He didn't ask me either. It was weird. I guess he just assumed I did what everybody else was doing, and I'll forever regret it. So if you're wondering, why is this guy on here? Why is this pianist, composer, telling me about weight loss? I'm trying to right a wrong, folks. I tried to give it away for free. I thought that would be the way to really right the wrong, and it's not, because if I can't support my family, I'm literally, well, it's just impossible. You can't do it that way. So there's just not enough money. It's just, you have to have revenue coming in order to provide something going out, even in a digital world. Something I learned the hard way. So, again, I was never that sales guy, and so when he was sitting there showing me the pictures, I just said, hey, man, come on. And he even told me, look, I just can't go to the gym. I can't. He was telling me all that stuff, guys, and I wasn't a salesman. I wasn't a salesman. I wasn't willing to do the right thing, guys. I will forever, that will forever haunt me. So if I can help just one other person, he left she's now 6 years old. He left a little girl, his wife. They actually have older kids too. It's a huge family, like 6 older kids. But I think about that little girl. On Father's Day, he dies. He goes to the Montessori school with his girl in the morning. He's dead in the afternoon. Guys, he told our friends, I'm not going to make it to my 60th. I had those thoughts, not about not making it to my 60th, not making it to my, I think at that time was my 42nd. Had those thoughts, and I didn't have the guts to tell him. I was embarrassed. How do you tell somebody you should lose weight too and do this? It just feels awkward. It feels, I don't know, like you're getting too personal with somebody, I don't know. I just wasn't comfortable, folks. I'm over that now. I want to impress upon you that I believe this may work for you. Try it. You've tried all sorts of crazy things in the past that cost you fortunes so far, right? Try this. It's 90 seconds, folks. It's really, really hard to make an excuse to not do it. Very difficult. You now know. Look, it's not just me, by the way. There are others that have succeeded with this. But even if it were just me, you know it works for a person. It could work for you. Now, the more people it works for, the more likely it'll work for you as well. It's been a lot of people. But again, I'm not allowed to say that this will work. I'm not allowed to guarantee it will work. I can't do that. And they're right, man. It's true. I don't know you well enough. I don't know that you'll actually do it. I don't know that you won't do what I did that I told you before. It's just I read about it, talk about it, but it doesn't work because I didn't really do it. And then yet I'm still saying I'm doing it. No, I have to actually do it. So I can't guarantee it will work for you. But I'm going to do one thing, okay, guys? And I just thought of it right now. I will guarantee the price of it, okay? I don't think this will sink me. I'm confident that it will not sink me. Here's what I will do. Can't guarantee you will lose weight because, again, who can, right? But if you buy this and you don't lose weight in, let's say, 60 days, the standard amount of time, I will give you every penny back. Just write me, I'll give you every penny back. But even better is I will sit with you and figure out what we can, in not one of my programs, but, because I don't have other programs, but I'll help you if you want the help. Find something, because we can say, okay, well, this didn't work for you, and we can figure out maybe what things what could possibly have been, and maybe find you something that will work. I have a lot of resources at my fingertips, and this is what I want to do. I want people to get the help they need to get past this weight issue. I keep hearing it being called a disease on TV. I guess because people die because they keep the weight on. It's It's a frightening thing. I've seen it with my own eyes. I know there's a way around it, not using this ridiculous systems that just don't have any way of working based on how human beings were built. Again, let me emphasize on that. Humans, when they limit the amount of food that they eat, and when they increase the amount of activity they get by a lot, they go into fight or flight mode. They go into protective mode. It's not something you can't stop that, folks. You can have willpower. You've heard of people that do this. They had willpower and they just lost all the weight and they kept it off with willpower. I never had that willpower. I know that makes me admit to being a weaker person, but it's true. I never had the willpower to say no to food and yes to exercise. Never, ever, ever. So, look, willpower is something that a few people can muster up and get past the natural defenses. But why? That's a big struggle. If this works for you, there's no big struggle. Even better, if it works for you, and in the end you have your athletic condition, well, you have every confidence you can keep it, because it doesn't depend on you getting to the gym every day. So if tomorrow you have to work an extra job, or you have to take care of a sick family member, doesn't matter. You can keep doing this. You can maintain it for life. Nothing, depending on nothing. No gym, no equipment, have to be in a certain place, wearing certain clothes, nothing. It's yours. It's something for you forever to keep you in optimal health, in your optimal health. So, I'm going to wish you a great remainder of the day. I implore that you do this. Whether you go off and just do what I told you and, don't use the program, or if you're someone like me that likes the hand-holding, that likes the support, that likes getting questions answered, if you have that kind of mind, which sometimes I drive myself crazy, then the product is great for you, and you're not going to be paying the $147 plus. So we'll figure out that price. We'll put it below. I'm only offering that in this link. Otherwise, I'll get in serious trouble with other partners. So it's only going to be from here. If you end up on another website, you will be charged whatever that website charges. I cannot be responsible from that. But if you use this button will give you that price. Okay? So that's my, and again, if you 60 days down the road, you're like, I didn't lose any weight, I don't feel any better, whatever it is, you know what, I decided I don't like him, email me, tell me you want your money back, no questions asked. The only question will be, will you allow me to help you find something that will work for you? Because maybe we can do that for you. So I will guarantee that. I will guarantee that to the best of our ability, we will help you in every way we can. We can't come out to you personally, but boy, we're there for you. You'll see it. When you log in, you'll see it, because there's conversations between us and the people using the system, and you see it. I mean, I don't go in there much and look around. I post when I'm asked a question and such, but I went in there the other day and I'm like blown away. The care is out of this world. You can see it. I knew that I felt this way, but I didn't know that you could see it in print. You know what I mean? It's like one thing to hear a guy's voice and see him in person. That person's, he's coming from the heart. He's not blowing smoke up my skirt, right? That's one thing. But that it translates into black and white text is remarkable to me. So you'll see it, and then reach out. Reach out. Don't sit with questions. Why sit with a question? You have a team. You finally have a team. A team, not just any team. You have, I keep going to the Dr. Phil guys, because a lot of people, look, whatever you think about Dr. Phil, he's brought the attention of good mental health to an entire globe. He's done a lot of good. So, please take whatever those rumors you hear about how he is on the set. I've never seen that, ever. Okay, so, people like to sling a lot of dirt, and, I got to say, look, whatever you personally feel about him, realize that he has one of, if not the most popular TV show currently on the air. Daytime, I'm sure he's the top, actually. And he was only second to Oprah when she was on. He's the top. He's kept his numbers for now over a decade. You know, that's another shocking thing, is he has better numbers now than when he launched. It's a decade later. All I'm saying is that, not that that means he's great. No, what I'm saying is, if for those few of you that are like, oh, I just don't like the guy, well, you know, you're entitled to that opinion. But realize that a guy in that position has the extraordinary ability to find the very most best capable people in the world to surround himself with. And that's what he did, and that's what I got the draw upon, guys. So, and I brought that into the system for you. So I can't stress that enough. So whatever you think about Dr. Phil, which I have a very high regard for him, you got to look at it that this is a guy who's assembled a team with the very best resources that the world has. You know, he's out of at Paramount Studios. I mean, he's got whatever he needs, he can make happen because he has a large audience. A lot of revenue comes in, so he can do the right things. And believe me, the man does. He does amazing things behind the scenes that no one ever finds out about. He's not interested in any tooting a horn about. He's doing some great things for people, remarkable things for people. One thing I can tell you is when his guests go on that show and he feels at all there's some possibility that they'll go home and have problems as a result of having exposed everything on air like that, he sets them up with all sorts of help. You see it sometimes on the show, but I'll tell you, a lot of times there are I'm involved with another company that does mental health services, so online therapy, and he draws upon them all the time to make sure that when he sends someone home that they're going to be okay. You know, doesn't have to do that, but he wants that. That's just the way he is. Again, he's got a great team. That's all I'm trying to impart upon you, and I've brought that team into this part of it, not the whole team, obviously, into this product to help you out. Got to run. Hope to see you inside. If not, it's just 90 seconds, guys. Just do it. You're going to have a meal here soon. Just get yourself out of breath for 90 seconds, okay? I'd prefer you do the right exercises, but, you know, you've got enough to get you going. So I shall wish you a wonderful remainder of the day.